people because they're not. The Kate Dalley Show starts now.
Geek TV News, the average American can't figure out why they feel like absolute trash.
We go live to a triple-boosted science truster who says,
it's just her genetics.
It's just genetic?
Yeah.
Literally, I never eat red meat. I switched to seed oils only because, health. And here I am.
we're here with a man who's just glowing from head to toe. Sir, what's your secret to your health?
Statins and blood pressure meds. Hold up, I'm about to have a heart attack.
Good thing they listen to their doctors. Not much more they can actually do.
True. Let's thank Big Pharma for being the main source of funding of all of our propaganda.
Sponsored by Pfizer, the largest criminal organization to ever do it.
Oh, man. That's like such a perfect commercial. Oh, gosh. Love it. Live today. And it mocks all the media, which I love because they're just, I'm sorry, they're just a bunch of toads. I just can't stand the nice hair, nice teeth, like mafia media, government media. Anyway, I love it. I love it. I love that they did it as a newscast. It's awesome. And welcome to the show today. I've got, of course, it's Wednesday. So I have Midwest Melissa. How are you?
As ever, waiting for the storm to hit.
Oh, you're in the Midwest. You have a storm coming on. We have record heat. I say in air quotes.
Oh, well, we all. I don't know, Kate, what kind of mojo we're bringing to the air or something. But it seems like every Wednesday I'm just like sitting at my command center here with my radar going like, how soon is it going to hit?
Right, because we don't know if we're going to have problems with this connection. I'm laughing just because our weather's so different. I saw an article today, and of course it was on the sellout Drudge. He's such a creep. Anyway. And it was record heat in Phoenix, Phoenix broils in 117-degree heat. Do you know how many times Phoenix has reached 117 in the last 75 years? Over 36 times. But just this year we're heating up and it's climate change. I'm just dying over this headline. There's so much fear. It's like, please get your local city politicians, your state, your so-called leaders, because they're just trash. But anyways, get them to read things in context. We are not in a drought, and we are also not in record heat when it happens over and over again. Hundreds of years.
You live in a desert.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I live in the Midwest where this is kind of par for the course.
It's just getting old.
The hype is new, but the storms are not new.
Yes. Yes. And I hope it doesn't hit for you guys. So on the heels of that funny commercial, and we have a lot to talk about today. By the way, I will play a little bit of Anonymous's latest video. We're going to get hit on domestic soil. They're going to blame it on Iran and get us into the Middle East broil so that no one asks any more questions or looks into any context of what's been going on the last 100 years. But I also, I'll play that in the next hour, but I just want to preface that with there's a lot of fake fighting going on. I think Tucker and Trump are fake fighting. I don't think it's a real fight. You're just going to notice, I think, more of that. And then also about a year and a half ago, I said if they do a war, they're going to have to hit us on our soil. They're going to have to do something to Trump to get us emotional enough, right, to want to go into war full bore, just like we were with Iraq. We didn't even care who we were hitting as long as we were hitting somebody. And so, I can foresee it because, yes, I think that's part of the game plan. I really do. Anyway, I said it a year and a half ago. You can go check the tape. Anyway. All right. So, Melissa, where do you want to start?
Well, this is just such delightful news.
I'm sorry. I know.
Delightful news,
I'm sorry. You know what? Somebody, I love the T-shirt that has a possum on it, a ferocious possum, and it says, "First of all, I'm a delight." Anyway, I'm thinking about getting it. But I do have to say this. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, a friend of mine I haven't seen for a while, and this guy said, "Well, we're doomed. Then we're doomed. Then we're just doomed," is what you're saying. I said, no. I said, stop looking at government as the answer. Stop looking at government as the answer. I heard Candace Owens is starting to say this now, too. I've been saying this for a while. Stop looking at government as the answer. We're not doomed. It's just that government isn't going to save us. Okay, so let's get rolling because this is going to be fun.
In light of that, let's talk about how the government isn't going to save us.
Oh, yeah.
The FDA, don't we love them?
Yeah.
They have given more than 20 foreign factories a special pass to continue to send drugs into the U.S., even though they were made at plants that the agency banned. Does that make any sense to you?
Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
Yeah. So here's what's going on.
Yeah.
So there are pharmaceutical manufacturing companies in places like India and China. In this particular case, we're going to talk about 2 factories in India, and they do not pass any kind of spec at all for the FDA. For example, this will turn your stomach. Okay. They found like leaking sewage in a room that was supposed to be a sterile room where they're manufacturing pills, like life-saving sorts of pills. They found shards of glass in injectables. And the manufacturing processes are so bad that they have said, okay, you can't send anything to the U.S. because we can't trust your manufacturing facility at all in any way. It's unsafe. You're not making good drugs. But because the FDA is worried about the last time they tried to ban these and they had a head of the FDA that actually made it stick, then we had all these drug shortages. Okay. So the FDA has said, well, okay, India, we're going to let these 17 drugs that you manufacture, we're going to let those in. We're going to give those an exemption, but you can't bring anything else. Okay. Does that make any sense to you?
The FDA never has. So I'm on I'm complex cycle forever. So yeah. So it's what they do.
You might think if you were if you need to do this so badly, if you were an FDA person, wouldn't you go, well, okay, here's the deal. We're going to cut you. We're going to let you bring these 15 drugs, however many they are, but we're going to test them here stateside because, that's kind of what they do in Europe with the same situation. We need the drugs and you're manufacturing them, but the EU said we have to test in country. So if they're coming into France, our inspectors are going to run tests for, efficacy and hygiene and make sure that these are clean, wholesome, good drugs before we release them to our people. The FDA said, we don't need to do that. Why do we need to do that? And to go even farther, the FDA didn't think that they needed to tell anybody that they weren't doing that. Yeah. So they never told consumers. And these are mostly generics, right? Which your insurance company is going to insist that you take. And they're not, they can't pass, these drugs don't pass safety standards, like important safety standards. Like they find liquids in these factories that have mold growth inside the vials that they're emptying the drug into. It's really like hideous third world country kind of manufacturing.
Sounds like it. Jeez.
And the FDA said, well, we know that this is a life-saving drug and you depend on that. And we know that it smells like sulfur when you open it. And we know that you've had stomach aches and these weird symptoms, but we're not going to tell you that the medicine might be tainted. Why?
Yeah.
We're
in trouble.
There's just nothing to be
We're in
said.
trouble. I don't know what else to say. We're in trouble. I mean, hopefully people are I think people are waking up to the medical cabal, aren't you? I mean, I think people are finally going, wait a minute. What do you want me to put what in my body?
What do you do about it? Some of these are drugs that are used in surgery.
Yeah.
They're like, one of them was a sedative that's used, a muscle relaxant that's used for surgery. You wouldn't even necessarily know you had it. You wouldn't, but they didn't tell, the FDA didn't tell Congress, and they won't answer any questions about it. And nobody from the Indian pharmaceutical companies will speak about it.
Right.
This sounds kind of fishy to me.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not a doctor, but I just have this kind of mother's hunch, if you want to call it that these are not things that I would put in my body.
Yeah.
But we don't have any choices because we don't know.
You know what we need to do? We need to come up with a list for the audience of things that you ask your doctor to see how awake your doctor is. Before
that would be so good.
Right? Before you assess whether or not you really want to spend some time with them, because most are just trained by textbook. So, and of course, the Johns Hopkins medical
Let me
style.
add to that. Wait. Before you finish that thought.
Yeah.
They're trained by textbook, and then they're propagandized by pharma.
Yes.
And they're incentivized by pharma.
You're exactly right. They become notepad, deliverers for pharma. It's like, oh, you need a script. Oh, you need a script. You have a script, just like Oprah. Yes. So I agree with that. I totally agree with that. That's why when I'm talking about All Family Pharmacy a lot, allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate, if you don't believe in pharma at all, which I can completely respect, then use it, buy some things and use them for bartering, because there are people that do. And so I'm always, I'm always aware of what pharma is, and can they come out with a couple of decent things that work? Sure. But for the most part, yeah, I don't trust pharma. I don't trust my government. I don't trust a lot of things. So yeah, I mean, the FDA, I don't know why anyone would trust them. I think they've lied a lot. They're illegal too, to the Constitution. We should never have an FDA.
Well, let me add this to the mix. When the Department of Defense buys drugs through these companies, they do their own in-house testing on them before they will release them to their personnel. So who are the only people here from whom information is being withheld? It's all of us.
Yeah.
And, at the same time, this is the same FDA that's going to tell me I can't take a vitamin D pill because it's good for my health, or don't you dare take that horse paste.
Right.
Oh no, here, take this injectable that has glass shards in it instead.
Let me tell you what's coming, and I'll do a little more on this tomorrow, but the predictive patient is coming. So they're going to predict what you would do when you come in. And if you are unconscious, they will predict what you would want based on your profile, your AI profile, and choices that you've made before that are all documented and kept.
Well, I should be in good shape because I've refused 2 vaccines and told them to take their
but they're going to predict that you would want them anyway because you're unconscious. That's what I'm trying to say. Predictive programming for medicine. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
I feel the sky tumbling down. I feel my heart start to tremble whenever you're
All right, welcome back, Kate Dalley Show. I have Midwest Melissa on today, and of course I am going to tell you allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. The reason I like them, because you know how I feel about pharma, but the reason I like them is because they will send things to your door like ivermectin. And I think that's important to get. Use it with fenbendenzenol or whatever, however it's pronounced. You know me, I'm the name murderer. But I'm just telling you that this is a good option for a lot of people that want to get ahead and want to order extra and want to have maybe a couple of Z-Packs around or some antibiotics or hormones or just have extra of everything. And these are doctor scripts that come to your door. They come from Florida. You do not have to go overseas anymore. We used to have to go to India, remember? Anyway, not pointing to anyone in particular, just an idea. So allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate, big sale happening very, very soon here, and take advantage of that because you should stock up. You really ought to. And of course, I have Midwest Melissa. So by the way, also use code Kate10 as well. So, okay. Melissa, where do you want to go? Yeah.
Well, just let's finish out the conversation about drugs and pharmaceuticals. It would be in your best interest if you take a drug to find out where it's manufactured. I think it's very interesting that the same FDA people will not, these are drugs that they would not take. Well, but they're willing to let them into the country for you to take.
Well, two things. I mean, our own conservative base screwed us over with our food, that happening to our food and not labeling it, right? And now we have that too. And so, yeah, we need to ask where everything's coming from. And by the way, the predictive programming that's coming with AI and the medical cabal, when they say that they're going to predict what you need, and so they just know you so well through all of your stuff medically that they can predict it. When you say I don't want a vaccine, they're going to predict that you will change your mind while you are unconscious and give you one. It's not. I'm saying that I don't know that for sure, but if it were my guess, that's what I would say is coming down the pike. The predictive programming is coming, but I would say that it's basically what you don't think is going to happen because they have to sell it in a really nice, sweet way. Okay.
Well, let's change the subject.
Let's do.
So, apparently, the United States Geological Survey, the USGS, has been using a new, I don't know that the technology is new, but they're using it in a new way. They are using seismic waves from earthquakes to map what is underneath volcanoes in the west of the U.S., in the Cascades, where the big... So we're talking about Washington, Oregon, California. We're looking at Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, Newberry Volcano, Crater Lake, and Lassen Peak.
Okay.
And they have just released, like in January, they just released the information that shows what they discovered by using this stuff. And they are finding that there are active magma chambers and tunnels under all these volcanoes, even though we've been told forever, oh, Mount Rainier, it's a dormant volcano. And they have had to kind of revise, not that it's I think the way they're saying it is it's dormant now, but I guess the good news here is they will be able, now that they've established kind of a baseline for what's underneath the ground, the magma, the active magma, they would be able to see changes. If like Mount St. Helens begins to really change underneath the ground and where the magma is and how close to the surface it is, it might make volcanic prediction much more exciting and accurate.
Interesting.
So they've done this with those volcanoes. They're going to also be starting to do this in Alaska, which has several active volcanoes. And so they're hoping to gather more and more information to make their predictions more accurate.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right.
No, I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
So very interesting because that has not been the theory.
Yeah.
The theory has been there's no magma under there. And some of these are fairly close to the surface, like 3 to 7 kilometers deep, which is really not all that deep if you think about it.
Yeah. Okay.
So science is always changing, always changing, always.
Yes, it is.
Always interesting. Well,
Yes,
this is one where I think, if I lived in the Pacific Northwest, I would want to know whether I needed to evacuate.
They thought tomatoes were poisonous because the wealthy used to eat them on lead plates, used to seep into the lead and they get lead poisoning. Anyway, the acidity, they used to think they were poisonous. Be right back. Science. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show. Be right back.
Well, hello everybody, it's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. to go finish this painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfthestudio.com.
Take me away, ho ho, hee hee, ha ha, to the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time, and I'll be happy to see those nice young men in their clean white coats, and they're coming to take me away.
All right. what a fun song to play on a Wednesday. Come on, we have to have a little humor. We're going to be talking a little bit about mental health. So
what are you saying?
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better one.
What do you know?
You know what? I have to play this for you, Melissa, because I don't think you heard this. I played this on the show yesterday. The Conformist Woman. Okay, here we go.
She calls America evil. From her iPhone while sipping Starbucks, on an airplane, with Wi-Fi, while watching TV. She drinks oat milk because regular milk makes her feel colonial. She got 8 COVID shots, still caught it, and blamed the unvaccinated waiter. She has a Ukraine flag in her bio. She thinks Ukraine is a clothing brand. She says Black Lives Matter, but still clutches her bag in certain neighborhoods. She used to be vegan, now she's carnivore. Depends on who she's dating. She thinks all cops are bad, then called the cops because someone wasn't wearing a mask. She says she's a feminist until she needs a jar opened. She says, trust the science, but thinks there's more than 2 genders. She posts about toxic masculinity. From her ex's apartment. She is the most conformist woman in the world.
Oh my gosh, don't you love it?
Yeah, well, let's talk about those women right there. Those are the women we're going to
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Right,
yes,
there they
please. Yes, please. Go for it.
Well, yeah. A Pew Research study has now come out with the data that young, liberal, white women are the most depressed people in the country. Are you surprised?
No.
They're they rate the highest for mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like 57% say, yes, I'm subject to mental illness. For conservative women, it's much, much, much lower. Like below 20%, like not even 15%.
Right. Interesting.
But liberal white women, 57%. So why is that? Why could that be? And I find this to be a very intriguing thing here.
Okay.
The data shows that liberal people are less likely to prioritize activities that bring them personal fulfillment, such as faith, marriage, and family. And those things are like documented to bring people happiness. They've done bazillions of studies on that. That marriage makes people happier and it makes them healthier
and better,
mentally healthier.
Better people. They're serving somebody else other than themselves. It's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
37% of liberals are married. 56% of conservatives are married, and marriage has been associated as better health and increased happiness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So there's lots of reasons for this. Social media usage. Women who they carry the burdens of the world all the time. They don't engage, they like your woman there that you played the thing.
Yeah.
That is the woman we're talking about.
Yeah.
Listen to this. This is so sad. Recent data shows that 1 in every 3 American high schools contemplated suicide in 2021. 1 in 3. That's awful.
Gosh, that's high. Actually, I didn't think it was that high.
And between 2009 and 2015, the number of girls between 10 and 14 who were admitted to the emergency room for self-harm tripled.
Wow. Jeez. Yeah. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So let's couple that with in 2016, 90% of teenage girls are using social media every day, whereas they don't even see their friends every day.
Oh, wow. Ouch.
So what kind of commentary can we make about American society and culture right now?
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
are we investing in the things that would bring anybody happiness, let alone women happiness? They're not investing in marriage. They're not investing in even relationships with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness.
Yeah.
So, let's see. What else can we share? But this is a crisis, this whole thing with liberal women in particular.
Yeah.
That are not, they're unhappy and they don't know why they're unhappy.
You know, it's interesting. Banks are asking questionnaires about mental health. It's interesting that doctors' visits are asking about your mental health. And you know, it's like when you don't tell the truth to people and you're always lying to them, you're going to see some mental health issues. And I think that's what that's about. You know, we're continuously lied to. And so the brainwashing works and it turns people a little nutty, right? A lot nutty. And they are going to turn the mental health thing against us. They're going to claim people that speak out probably about Zionism or probably about all these different topics, all the things that come up, the Middle East, whatever. If you're trying to tell the truth out there, I can see them coming up with a mental health issue for you and taking you away. It's sad, but I actually think that is coming at some point because that's everything's leaning towards it, right? Everything is mental health, your mental health crisis.
Well, there's another study that said that lays some of this depressive.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these are women who are self-identifying as depressed. So that speaks to what you're talking about.
Oh, dear.
But,
oh, my gosh.
But, you know, young girls who are being taken to the hospital for self-harm, I'm not sure that that's because their doctor asked them about that. That means that somebody was concerned and took them to a hospital.
Right.
But here's part of the solution.
Okay.
They're talking about cognitive distortions that are part of the whole delivery system here.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it is helping young people to get out of the trap of catastrophizing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a crisis.
Right.
And they blow everything way, way, way out of proportion. I know there's been a lot of war talk around my house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oh my gosh, we're on the brink of World War III. And in the difference between generations, I told my person in the house, I said, things are never as bad as you think, nor as good as you hope. And he just kind of rolled his eyes at that. And I said, no, really.
Yeah.
I said, they're never as bad as you think, and they're never as good as you hope. It's somewhere in the middle. And let's not blow this all out of proportion.
Right. Mine is don't look to the government for answers. And then you won't feel like there's no hope. If all your hope's in government, we're screwed. If all your hope's in government, but why is your hope in government at all? I mean, at this point, look at 2020. Why is your hope in government at all? I mean, we should be removing ourselves from that at this point.
Well, another aspect of this whole thing has to do with, and I think this is a particular challenge for some women.
Mm-hmm.
They invest everything in emotional reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
They are not thinking rationally or logically about some topics.
Mm-hmm.
Students were saying that if you have a challenging, unorthodox conservative speaker on your campus, that causes actual harm to students.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that a reasonable thing to say? If this speaker, say it's Charlie Kirk, comes to your campus, are people going to die? No.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably not.
And most people who have rational thought processes could think their way through that.
Right.
But if it's just emotion and you don't have any way to process that, you become very agitated.
Or you refuse to process it. You know, I wonder how much of it is that. It's just like a refusal. It's like they want to be in that state of fear, choosing to be the victim all the time. So they have to find the victimhood in anything and everything. So maybe they're choosing not to see the truth. Like, I don't know. I think the victimhood status is huge with that group of people. And I think they like it.
Well, I think our colleges are also teaching people, these young women, the actual reverse of rational, critical thinking skills.
Yes. I'll be right back. More with Melissa. Midwest Melissa joins me in this hour. Then Susan. Be right back on the Kate Dalley Show. We're live today.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day, and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
You hear the work bell ring, and I march you to the table.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Kate Dalley Show.
You see the same old thing.
I've got Midwest Melissa with me, and make sure.
Ain't no food upon the table.
Make sure that you go to the Augusta Gold on my website. If you're going to buy, that's midnight special, by the way. If you're going to buy gold and silver, the best place to do it is Augusta because it helps the show. Also for you. And here's 2 reasons why I chose them. The reasons are this. Number 1, they have the lowest spread. So the decision being made for you is about you, and they have the lowest spread. Okay. And the second thing is that they're not commissioned. So they're not going to try to sell you on it. They don't have any motivation to do so. So give them a call. You can actually find them right on my website. You can click right over and get in touch with them. If you're going to buy gold and silver, which they're going up, you might as well make some money. And I would do that, but go to Augusta Gold. Okay. All right. So I like the way that they are doing business. Okay. Midwest Melissa coming back.
Oh, well, you have to read what AI just told you.
Oh, yeah. I the leftist way of thinking. And this is what it said. Left-wing politics typically involve a concern for those in society whom its adherents perceive as disadvantaged relative to others, as well as belief that they are unjustified inequalities that need to be reduced or abolished through radical means that change the nature of the society that they are implemented in. You think? Yeah, and it isn't all about just the concern for those in society like that. I'm sorry. They use them to get the radical agenda in the latter part of that. So yeah, the disadvantaged are used to get radical agenda that transforms society. Oh my gosh.
It's very interesting that all these researchers who are looking at these sad progressive liberal women are concluding that progressive institutions are actually teaching our young people that catastrophizing is a good way to get what you want.
Yeah.
And who has stopped? I mean, I think, if I look at what happened last weekend with the No King stuff, some of that may be changing a little bit. Maybe we'll see. But here's the other thing that I think this is critically important. People who believe that they are in control of their life, that they invest in the things that they can control in their life. That's a better way to put it. Instead of investing in things you have no control in. If you spend all your emotional energy investing in things, I'm so worried about this war in Iran. Well, what am I going to do about it? And to spend all my time worrying and fretting over that means that, of course, I'd be depressed, right? So if your whole mindset is, we have to help the oppressed people around the world, and you really aren't much in charge of your life. And that leads people, like they said, people who are investing in family, in marriage, in their faith communities, in other things tend to be happier.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so that leads us to, I found a wonderful article from Intellectual Takeout on how to stay sane in crazy times. And I think we have crazy times ahead. Okay. So I have taken much of this advice to heart myself. And in the article, they kind of profiled both a very liberal group, a liberal couple who have Trump derangement syndrome, right? And a very conservative group, a family. But the two families were doing the same things. So in times like if you can't control that Trump is president, but you hate Trump, then maybe you should spend more time in your garden, invest in your children and grandchildren, go be a volunteer at your local library and read kids' books.
Right.
You know, find something to do that fills your emotional place.
Right. Or be mad at the idea that you didn't do any homework in history to understand why we're at where we're at 100 years later in politics. Because,
well, I think that's a great thing to do. And I invest all the time in reading more history.
Exactly.
I don't think you can't go wrong, but those are things that are controllables in your life. Do you know what I mean? You can learn that, take a class in pottery or cooking or, you know, go take a history class, whatever, but find the things that are the controllables in your life and let go. You can still have a rant, either pro or anti-Trump, whatever you want to do, have a rant, but don't focus your whole life on that. Because it's an uncontrollable, and it makes you miserable in the end.
It's just not having a lot to do with their life. So your local government, the people, I'm trying to not use adjectives, the people that consume those roles of politicians, worry more about that. At least it's closer to home than you would about Trump, but all the focus has to be on Trump.
Well, we've talked about this before. If you really want to have impact, focus on politics at the local level.
Yes.
Focus on the people that you can look in the eye across the table.
They're screwing you over harder than Trump is. Trump is not doing what they're doing to you in property tax and shutting down your city in the at the whiff of what the state says and tells them to do, or the CDC. So we got bigger problems locally.
We do, and I think when you make a difference locally, I mean, just psychologically, what that does to your feeling of like having been successful. And made a difference. I made a difference. But I do think as the world kind of spins more and more out of control, find the ground that's solid beneath your feet and invest there. And I think that is the key to staying sane. And I would tell these young women, it's the same thing. You know, find the things that will make you happy, whether it's investing in and thinking about changing your attitude about marriage, changing your attitude about family, change your attitude about children,
about women and men. About the roles. You know, I Googled how to speak to a leftist idiot. Sorry, but the two words they're like a hyphen. I mean, they're hyphenated. They go together. And basically, the first one was don't. No, I'm just kidding. I did not say that. It said, basically, don't try to educate or change their mind. Just try to not use any adjectives or insults. And I was just laughing because it's like talking to a 2-year-old. You know what I mean? So it's just funny. It just was so funny to hear. Don't try to educate or change their mind.
There are two virtues that are also connected to happiness. One is humility and the other is gratitude. And those two things don't have any political agenda. But they make us happy.
Oh, it just makes me laugh.
You have to have a lot of humility to talk to left-leaning sorts.
And you know,
and a thick skin.
There's lots of extremes, even on both sides, and I just wish people would take things in context and do more research to know the truth. It'd be so much easier to deal with, because having to just start at square one's really hard because we've just been so uneducated and brainwashed. Melissa, Midwest Melissa, thank you, and hope you're not hit by a tornado today. And
I'm out to go check my backyard right now.
Right, good weather, good weather to you, and thank you. And of course, Susan's coming up. Got a lot to say. Be right back on the Kate Dalley Show. I'll probably take some calls too in the next hour. So KateDalleyRadio.com.
I hear every day about the products you all wish My Pillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard My Pillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
This is the architect, speaking on behalf of Anonymous. 17 days remain until we release everything. But first, there's something we feel the need to bring to light now. This is not speculation. This is a warning based on extremely reliable intelligence that a major attack is being planned on domestic soil, and it will be blamed on a foreign faction, one from the Middle East. But that is a lie. The operation is a false flag, orchestrated not by a foreign enemy, but by an elite shadow alliance within a nation that poses as our greatest ally. The goal? To drag us into their war, under the guise of retaliation. But the real motive isn't justice. It's control, resources, power. They know that once blood is spilled here, the public will beg for retribution.
All right, welcome, Kate Dalley Show. That was anonymous via whoever the architect is. Who knows? So let me explain that before I. And by the way, Susan is on with me, Susan Reeve. Happy to have her. Hi, Susan.
Hi there.
Hi there. So, okay, we have a lot to talk about, but I just wanted to mention this clip. I took a little bit of that. I didn't take the whole clip, obviously. Look, on one hand, I can see something going on that would propel us into war a little bit like 9/11 when we were just out for blood and we just didn't even care who we hit. And whatever reason they came up with, everybody just sort of ignored looking into it and we just went along with it and we hit Iraq. Okay. So I can see them making us emotional because they had to do that with 9/11 to get us into that war. I can see them doing that. I've been talking about that for a year and a half, that likely because a year and a half ago, I said they're going to put Trump in and it's war. War is on. Okay, I can see it happening. I can also see that could be a psyop and that could be a situation where we just talked about mental health with Melissa a little bit, and they're trying to ratchet that up. So if they're constantly coming out with these claims and they don't happen, they tend to make people a little wonky, okay? So there's that aspect as well. So can I see them doing multiple things like this and kind of throwing it out there and going for the fear factor and getting us, just acting like nuts over it? Yes. But can I see the reality of the situation and say they're going to use the same playbook? Yes. I do believe they'll use the same playbook. It's just a matter of when. So whatever that is, I'm not quite sure. They're saying 17 days from a few days ago. I don't even know what the timeline is, but they're saying it's coming. But boy, it's coming. And is it going to be around Independence Day-ish? Who knows? Susan, what are your thoughts on what Anonymous said?
It is so funny because I've been watching President Trump in his press conferences today, and he's putting up flagpoles. I mean, this is the most unalarmed man, and they've asked him questions, and he said, I wanted a deal with Iran, and they still want a deal, and now it's kind of too late, and I want unconditional surrender. And then he goes on to talk about this flagpole. So let me just tell you about these flagpoles, because he was so passionate about it. I thought, doesn't he have more important things to be worried about right now? But apparently not. He is focused on having 2 flagpoles, about 100 feet each, on the White House lawns. And he said they've needed this for 200 years. And then he was surrounded by the guys putting it in, and he was talking to them, saying, I hope you voted for me. I mean, it was this jovial version of Trump that is in such direct contrast to, war, bombing, all of these alarmist articles. So I just find it very interesting. And I actually think he's doing this intentionally. I think he is trying to lower the temperature of people are feeling so that they're not getting ramped up. And it was just really apparent because he was there for the installation. Then he came back for the flag raising with his family. And I thought, what kind of low priority in the general scheme of things would this normally be? And yet he's trying to get the country to focus on this. So that in itself, I think, is a little bit of a psyop, right? It's trying to kind of manage the psychological times we're in. But, you know, the Wall Street Journal and other newspapers have come out and said that in order to get to this nuclear facility, they need our bunker busting 30,000 pound bomb that they call the massive ordnance penetrator. And they can't do it without us.
What's it called?
It's called the massive ordnance penetrator. It is a 30,000 pound bomb that it goes hundreds of feet and then explodes, like 200 feet, then explodes. So they need that. Israel does not have that. Anonymous was clearly referring to Israel or suggesting that they would be part of some kind of plot, which makes me wonder, is that like an anti-Israel, you know, faction psyop? So the other person I listened to was Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, who's an economist, and Tucker Carlson. And Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia was saying, he said, we don't want this war. I talked to diplomats everywhere. Nobody wants this war. And we don't need a war with Iran, et cetera, et cetera. I would normally agree with him. Apparently, the Ayatollah is on the run, which is always a good sign. But I was looking into the state of women in Iran. Now, we know this is true now back in Afghanistan and other Muslim countries, but I mean, it's more rare, but that these women have to have these face coverings and whatnot. And they increased the demands on the women in December. They increased the penalties for the law for women who don't wear the hijab. And so there have been protests, but there have been arrests, there have been deaths, there have been hundreds of people imprisoned. There's rapes and murders as psychological impediments on women. It is really a barbaric culture when it comes to women. And so I would not be too sad if whatever faction in our government that I feel is going to go ahead with this, probably the bunker buster, hopefully, if that's the case, that there might not be a new beginning for women in Iran. That's just my feeling. I don't think we would be in a long war if we decimate them. We've already taken out their air support. Like it's over. How do you win a war without air support? You really can't.
I just don't think it's any of our business. I think that we utilize Iran for a narrative in the Middle East, and I think that what's going on is scripted. But I also think that we don't have a role to go and bomb them because of what we think is going on over there. So I don't think that that's our job. I think that it's become our job, and it's become the intelligence racket's job. And they're more than happy to do it, to install their puppetry. I think we've actually already installed that. I think that we kind of use them. But I also, and you don't have to agree with me, and a lot of people won't, but I know we've had control since the 1950s, so I don't think we gave up that control. And I do think that when we're talking about these other countries, I think it's easy to get kind of into this. We take upon ourselves to go, this is what they're doing, and that we need to go in and stop XYZ. And I think that their people need to stop XYZ instead of us, right? What do you think?
I honestly think that for 45 years, they've been telling us that we have to ramp our military up to these extreme heights because of Iran and its threat to us. If they take out their nuclear facility, what are they going to tell us? That Russia is the new threat? You know, Russia is kind of sitting back on this. Trump put out a social media post that said, you know, I wished Putin happy birthday, or he wished me happy birthday. Now that does not sound like Putin is backing Iran and that Putin is angry with the US. That kind of sounds like Putin has said, do what, they're going to do what they're going to do, and I'm not going to interfere.
Right.
So I think that's a step in the right direction, actually.
Why now, though? Why do you think it's happening now? Why the timing?
Because this is Trump's opportunity to be the support. And then as elections for Trump, congressional elections come closer, things are going to shift. And so I think it's this window of opportunity. And plus, whoever triggered Hamas to do what they did, whether or not that was a counter intel operation or whatever, Hamas is on its heels, and Iran was funding Hamas. So now it seems like the next domino. And I think it's because this is Trump's time. This is him to be, they said he was going to be a lame duck, but it's given him the freedom to say, I don't care. But here I'm going to do it fast and hard now.
But his time for what, though? I mean,
to be the support, to not interfere, to not demand that Israel stand down, because that's what Biden did before. Biden said, made Israel stand down and kept demanding it. Macron just said at the G7, Trump is going back to the U.S. for a ceasefire agreement. Trump put out a social media post that it is not a ceasefire. This is to end it. And so if this deep state has been using Iran, then is Trump pulling the rug out from that whole narrative and operation is what I'm wondering.
I don't know. I think that we're scripted for war in the Middle East. And I think that I have a lot of different thoughts on this, but I think that you could see how by putting Trump in, because the deep state controls the presidency, we've known this for a long time. That's how they put Biden in. By putting Trump in, we ramp up the war efforts with people cheering it on rather than saying no. So if Biden were doing this, I think the conversations would be very different. So it's just whatever person we have at the helm depends on the conversation everybody has about it. And I just feel like we had the military parade. The military parade's fine, okay? But Oracle, Coinbase, and Palantir were the sponsors. So there's a pretty huge problem, okay? So, that's a big deal. And so it's always look at this, but also what about this? And it's just not, just like the parade was, it's just not a one-dimensional conversation because this has been going on for so long. We've been ramping up to war over there. They've been telling us there's going to be war over there for 40 years in the headlines. So I think the timing, when I said a year and a half ago, we would have war when Trump goes in, because that's where they're headed. That's where the profiteering is going to happen too, and digital currency. So the war causes the collapse in the digital currency to go in. Be right back. More with Susan. Be right back.
Well, hello everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my artist studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfthestudio.com. But I'm sure for this, I hope I'll see you at lutfthestudio.com.
My friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction.
Eve of destruction. Welcome back, Kate Dalley Show. And so glad you're listening live today. It's a Wednesday show for sure. I have a caller on hold, and I just wanted to mention, look, remineralize your teeth. That you have control over. Order up that product. They have a sale going on. It's amazing. Put in the code Kate Dalley, Kate Dalley 15, I think. Get 15% off, or Kate Dalley 10, one of the two. It's there on my website. Remineralize your teeth. Go to FIQ Supplements for your supplements. Make sure you load up. Just make sure you have, if something happens this summer or fall, I just want to make sure you're okay. And then, of course, allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. The link is on my website, allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. Use the code Kate10 and load up on some things and just make sure you have extra. It's a good way to do it without having to find a doctor and go pay a doctor, which is nice because they have doctors that write those scripts for you. And so I love that. And sometimes it's just like a 10-second conversation with you and they'll send those scripts to you. Okay. We do have a caller. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Caller, that's you. You're live. Go right ahead. You're on the hot seat.
Oh my gosh! You know what? This conversation about Iran, one thing we have to look back on is our own government installed this regime 46 years ago.
Yep.
Okay, and under Carter, and now we're looking to change it again, and I think for the better. I'm a Rand Paul leaning person about intervention. But you know what? I mean, there's a time and place when war is a bad thing. Always a bad thing. But at some point in time, you've got to get this thing over with. And I regardless of the source of it, but these guys are, to me, they are the Iranians talking about, the mullahs. Every other nuclear power in the world is rational. They really are. Even North Korea. These guys, once they get a bomb, they've stated, they said they're going to use it, and that's irrational. And I think that if there's, in the Bible, there's just war. I don't know. I know CIA and all that stuff aside. I don't know. It's time to. How long are we going to put up with this stuff? We're going to be talking about this stuff in negotiations for another 15 years if we don't do something.
My question is what stuff and why are we doing it? Why are we dealing with it and what stuff? I mean, they're over there and because they say things. I don't know that if they're not doing said thing, I'm just not sure why all of a sudden rhetoric is up on Iran and now we have to go blow them out of the water. I don't understand it.
Well, exactly, because they're, you're absolutely right. It could be a big, deep state ploy, just like the Gulf of Tonkin and things like that, drew us into a regional and then almost global conflict.
Right. I think they want the conflict.
Certain people want the conflict. I don't. My personal opinion is.
I meant the CIA. Yeah.
I don't think he wants the conflict, but I think the deep staters still in government want the conflict. And, so there's two different sides to this, and they're battling.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I love the call. Thank you. So glad I put you on. What do you think, Susan? When we only have about a minute until we have to go to break.
Dr. Jeffrey Sachs was saying that Bibi Netanyahu has this. He's insisting that this is what needs to happen and it's going to happen now. And so he has been over here saying Iran is going to come after us. And, when he gave that little talk, that it sounded a little manipulative, like you guys better be scared too over here in the U.S. But
we could squash them like a bug, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. And this is his agenda.
Okay.
Exactly. And so a lot of people think we're just hopping on board with him.
We're going to go to break. We're going to go to break. But I just want to say, I remember these exact conversations when this was the narrative with Syria. And they lied about what was going on with Syria, and they got everybody into brouhaha. They actually gave us a picture of a dead boy on a beach that was actually fabricated at the time. But they gave us this picture of a boy on the beach to get everybody emotional about it. And these were the exact conversations we were having at that time on the air about Syria. It's very, very weird. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show.
I hear every day about the products you all wish My Pillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard My Pillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use My Pillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all My Pillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard My Pillows absolutely free.
Yeah. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
All right, welcome, Kate Dalley Show. I'm on with Susan Reeve and having a fun and interesting kind of debate on things, which I like because we always want to get all down to the issue of what's really going on, right? So I love that, and Susan loves that, and so I'm grateful for the way that we can do this. This is great. And mypillow.com, get over there. They've got a new offer going on. When you buy $100 worth of things that you can even set aside for Christmas if you want, birthdays, whatever, you get $100 in free credits for stuff. I mean, it's a pretty amazing deal. Go check it out, mypillow.com, and the code word is Kate. And their Percale sheets are on sale for $24. So if you're have a college student moving or need a wedding gift, it's wedding season, this is a great thing to think about and have those sitting there for wedding gifts. And they're such a great price. It's a steal right now because I think normally they're $50. So it's half off. All right, Susan. Okay. There was something that you were going to mention.
Yes. I came across Catherine Heritage. She has her own X account now and is a reporter, and a lot of stuff that the Trump administration wants to put out, they put out through her, kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. But she has a whistleblower on. He is a State Department veteran, and he says his signature was forged on documents on government compliance records pertinent to national security. And some of the things his signature was forged on were contracts worth up to $5 million. Now, we know that the Inspector General for the State Department found like $1.6 billion of questionable costs from counterfeit tech scams. And he comes forward and he said, not only was his signature forged, but when he was in China, he and his family were attacked with a direct energy weapon. And their brains were affected, their eyes were affected, his toddlers were affected, his wife was affected. And so the government at first, of course, under Biden, didn't really take it as seriously, didn't medevac them right away. They did get some treatment. They got sent to Lithuania, and there was more activity that he was a target of. And you go, well, why would he be a target? Well, then he presents documents that says my signature was forged on these documents. And so you realize this is in part why we have a swamp. You have somebody who came forward inside the organization and said, this is happening and my signature was forged, and couldn't get the help he needed. He had to go outside the government to 2 different organizations that are helping him now to maintain his rights for future medical care for him, his wife, his children, but also presenting the fact this is how the swamp works. We wondered, how do all these expenses just seem to flow through?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them now, I never thought of forgery, that people's signatures are being forged. And if they come forward, what happens to them? So it is really a staggering interview that she has with him on her X channel, Catherine Heritage, Herridge. And so impressive that this is happening, that now we know. And it's important that people take this seriously and recognize this is what, well, one of the things he said is he tried to report this and he was told by his superiors, don't put this in reports. What, that I'm injured, that this happened to me, and that my signature was forged? Is this coming from inside the organization, including the direct energy weapon? It's a staggering thought. But look at the money involved, the sheer volume of funds. I tell you, this is the tip of the iceberg, and she is helping to expose it.
Okay, interesting. We'll have to look into that more as well. Anything else on your radar? We can try to take a call too.
For sure. Just Trump at the flagpole ceremony, he was asked about the difference between, by a reporter, what's different now between and your last term. And he said, well, I was the hunted and now I am the hunter, which is kind of a significant phrase for people who follow the news. But it's funny that that's how he put it, that he is now the hunter. And you wonder who internally is he hunting, because he was hunted internally in the first administration.
Interesting. And
it is.
Yeah. Huh. All right. Well, I mean, there's just so much going on right now. The headlines are insane today. I wouldn't even know where to start on, honestly, because it's a lot of Iran, Trump privately approved strikes. Americans are warned to get out. This is going to move forward. What are we going to do? And so it's getting more interesting for sure. Let's take a quick call. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Yes, they should put the federal national land up for homestead to people that are living in allegiance to supreme law, the Bill of Rights. Instead of selling it to fund organized crime. Yeah, they should put it up for homestead.
There you go.
Upholding the supreme law is a lifetime covenant, not a few year getting paid money. And so they should give an inheritance for people that are living in allegiance to the rights of the people.
Okay. Well, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Good to hear from you. And yeah, that's not a bad idea with the homesteading. I'm aboard. I think we've got a lot of, like, it's this or this, but never any other conversation. So where the states are so corrupted now, it's going to be tough to even see what they do with the lands, but it's better than the feds having them. I mean, we'll talk to Chris Ann Hall a little bit about that as well tomorrow, but where she stands on that and where she stands on this whole ramping up of let's bomb the hell out of them war. So this is just very bizarre. I just hope people will kind of take a step back and really look at the information coming at them over and over and over again. And it's a constant barrage of media adjectives that are hitting people over and over and over again. They did this with Syria too. And people were against war with Syria. They did not want remember the CIA lied and said that he suddenly was deranged and gassing his own people. Remember that lie? I just want to remind people, because it's the exact same conversations we're having now. Susan Reeve, thank you. And we'll talk more about that on tomorrow's show. I've got a lot for tomorrow. Wow. And a lot of threads of things tomorrow. Be faithful, be fearless. See you tomorrow. You know what? I'm laughing. I'm just laughing at myself because I actually went off a little early. Susan, we're live. Okay, so let's recap for just a second. I seriously went off a minute early. That's how insane things are right now. Listen, I'm going to head off again. Be faithful, be fearless. I'm going to say it again. A lot's happening right now. A lot's happening. We'll talk more about it. We'll invite your calls tomorrow. I do want people to feel like they can sound off tomorrow on what they want to say, because, we had a small debate today, but it's about to get really interesting. So I just want to make sure that you can sound off tomorrow, and I'm happy to do that. I have